remind members, please, you see the crosstalk? Please desist from it, okay? If anyone wants to have a conversation with anybody, you're free to do it, but outside, okay? Minister.
Madam President, it gives me great pleasure to contribute to this debate this afternoon, and I want to sincerely thank you, Madam President, for the opportunity to do so. Madam President, I will begin my contribution to this debate by echoing the sentiments of my senior, the learned Attorney General, that the bill before us today, which is entitled the Miscellaneous Provision FATF Compliance Bill 2020, which treats with the amendment to 11 pieces of existing legislation and 13 clauses in length, is a critical piece of legislation, in this government's combat against crime and criminal activity in this country. Madam President, the bill that we present today, it is our attempt to also fight against white-collar crime. The kind of crime, Madam President, where criminals sit cloaked in their jackets and ties, and for too long have been untouchable in Trinidad and Tobago. What we are attempting to do as a government, Madam President, is to strengthen processes to enhance the fight against white-collar crime. Madam President, our government stands ready to employ apt strategies through the machinery of our legislature to ensure that every one of them, every white-collar criminal, is brought to justice. So when Senator Mark comes before this Senate and he calls this bill a misnomer, when he criticizes our government as having a lack of respect for the Law Association of Trinidad and Tobago, this is furthest from the truth. As a matter of fact, what concerns me, Madam President, is that Senator Mark, in his contribution, also stated, who can't hear go feel? I am very concerned. I'm very concerned. Is this a threat to national security of our country? Who can't hear go feel? If the PNM can't hear, we go feel? So, Madam President, if in this August chamber, we as senators who are called upon the population and we are held by a...
Senator Roberts, I'm hearing you, and I think you intend for me to hear you. So I will ask you please to desist from that line of conduct, okay? Continue, Minister.
As senators and parliamentarians, Madam President, it is my respectful belief that we are to be held at a higher standard. And for a senator, any senator, to make that statement, who can't hear go feel, it really concerns me. And I really take that, and I'm really concerned whether it's a threat to our country, whether it's a threat that if the PNM doesn't pass particular legislation in a particular way, is it that the opposition intends to incite whatever they intend to incite? So, Madam President, today, as I continue my contribution, I wish to place on the record that this is simply our government's attempt to continue our battle against the white-collar crime that continue to persist in our country. Madam President, Senator Roberts indicated that we are on the blacklist. And it is true, we are on the blacklist, as the Attorney General would have indicated. Trinidad and Tobago was included in the European Commission EC list of a high risk of third countries. However, that is the very reason why we are here as a parliament. That is the very reason why we are here as a government this afternoon, to introduce legislation, amendments to legislation that will take us off of this list. But even if we bring this legislation and we are constantly shut down by the opposition, This said opposition, Senator Roberts, I would recall in his contribution, said that the government was incompetent. He spoke of us not bringing regulation and bringing laws. But that is also a concern of mine, because when we do bring legislation and we do bring law, there's a constant refusal of the opposition to support the said legislation. So to answer to Mr. Roberts, yes, we are on the blacklist. The learned Attorney General would have alluded to that in his contribution. But we are here to bring recommendations to take us off that said list. And if there's really 1 ounce of love for country, as Senator Roberts tried to allude to in his contribution, where he spoke of all the negative economic sanctions that being on a blacklist will bring to this country, which we all agree with, which I certainly agree with. If that is his position, then I would hope, and I dare Senator Roberts to support our bill as we seek to make recommendations and bring amendments to the legislation that could, of course, only allow us as a country the opportunity to move off of any blacklist that can, of course, affect enterprise and commerce in our country. Now, Madam President, for the benefit of Trinidad and Tobago, and of course, in the interest of speaking time, for the benefit of the man on the street, the learned Attorney General, of course, in his piloting of the bill, would have gone through the length and breadth of some of the amendments that we have before us here today. So what I would want to primarily focus on, Madam President, in my contribution is in essence to see if I can shed light to some areas of this bill that may be of some confusion to the regular man on the street, and to be able to identify to Trinidad and Tobago that this amendment that is before this House today, it is really our government's intention. As I would have stated in the very onset, it is in an effort to bring an end to white-collar crime, or to curb white-collar crime in our country. Madam President, for my brothers and sisters, by way of introduction, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago, by way of introduction, we can ask ourselves, what is the FATF? Now, the Financial Action Task Force, Madam President, is a global anti-money laundering standard-setting body which develops and promotes worldwide standards for combating money laundering and terrorism. As a policy-making body, the FATF works to generate the necessary political will with governments to bring about national legislative and regulatory reforms. Trinidad and Tobago, yes, as the Attorney General would have already alluded to, was removed from the FATF grey list on February 21st, 2020. But notwithstanding that, we recommend that we realize that there is a dire need for further strengthening of certain pieces of legislation that will only strengthen us as a country. Madam President, what has the FATF achieved so far? The FATF process, I wish to put on the public record, has helped streamline reform of the criminal justice system with major legislative achievements in relation to the investigating financial crime. The FATF, we have also recognized money laundering prosecutions for 5 individuals, 52 ongoing terrorism financing investigations, and increased use of financial intelligence for the fight against white-collar crime. So, Madam President, the FATF, there has been a considerable amount of achievements. Because, as I said, because time will not permit, I will focus on the amendment that Clause 4, B, C, and D of this current bill proposes to bring. Madam President, in this particular clause, we speak to the seized asset. So I would read, Madam President, Clause 4, B, and C. What it proposes, Madam President, Section 58E of the Proceeds of Crime Act, which deals with the purpose of seized assets fund, is being amended by this particular bill today. Now, the Seized Asset Fund is a fund for which money seized under the Proceeds of Crime Act and the Anti-Terrorism Act can be directed in accordance with the management of the Seized Asset Committee and in line with regulations governing the management and operation of the fund. Now, why I choose to make special reference to this particular fund, and I know the learned Attorney General in his piloting, he also focused on this particular section. This particular amendment should be of serious concern to the people of Trinidad and Tobago, because what it does is that it will give our government the ability to now determine how monies that have been seized through matters which have been adjudicated upon. It gives the government the ability to decide how these monies can be spent. So, for example, when we look at the purpose of the fund is to provide funds for community development, drug abuse treatment, rehabilitation projects, law enforcement projects, compensation under Section 29, restoration of monies by the President under Section 42. All of these, Madam President, what it will do, it can only benefit the people of Trinidad and Tobago. It can benefit our population. So monies that was once, for want of a better word, stolen from the national purse can then be returned to the benefit of every single citizen of our country. Madam President, as a minister in the Ministry of Legal Affairs, I would also want to focus on Clause 11. Madam President, what Clause 11 seeks to amend is the Companies Act, Chapter 8101, and this is also a very, very important piece of amendment. These are amendments, Madam President, from the Registrar General Department and Companies Registry in light of the implementation and rollout of the Beneficial Ownership Information Regime. Now, Madam President, beneficial owner, I would like to place on the record, and also in furtherance of what the learned Attorney General would have alluded to in his piloting of the bill, refers to one who actually directs the management of the business and the affairs of the company, or the person who ultimately controls the company. So the question is, the amendment that we seek to bring to the Companies Act, how is that in particular going to assist us in the fight of crime, or in our fight or attempt to further fight white-collar crime in Trinidad and Tobago? Madam President, what is necessary to know is who is the beneficial owner of a company. Where there are vulnerabilities, Madam President, in the financial system, in many instances, opportunities exist for the misuse of that particular system. It has been determined, for example, that a limited liability company, it is one of the mechanisms often used by white-collar criminals to disguise and convert the proceeds of crime through schemes designed to conceal the beneficial owner of the company. So therefore, Madam President, transparency with respect to the beneficial owner and the beneficial interest held in a company is certainly necessary to protect the local and international economic systems against not only disguising and the conversion of the proceeds of crime, but also, Madam President, tax evasion as well as corruption and unfair business practices. So certainly, the Clause 11 of this bill, Madam President, which seeks to amend the Companies Act Companies Act 8101, would certainly bring significant or certainly assist the government significantly in our fight in being able to, and the Attorney General always alludes to it, being able to follow the money, all right? Because we are not only asking, we are also asking for that declaration of the beneficial owners of said companies. Madam President, again, as a minister in the Office of the Attorney General and Ministry of Legal Affairs, what is also very important to me is that clause 13 of this said bill. Madam
Minister,
President,
you have 5 more minutes.
Madam President, this particular clause, which is the final amendment of this particular bill, what it seeks to do, Madam President, is to amend the Non-Profit Organization Act number 7 of 2009 in clause 10. Now, this proposed amendment, Madam President, again, it will certainly assist us in being able to determine the nature of these non-profit organizations, and certainly be able to and certainly allow us as a government to be able to ensure that these are not organizations, for want of a better word, hoax organizations that were simply created as a mechanism to conceal money or to launder money. So again, as simple as that amendment is, it is certainly going to assist the government again in our fight against white-collar crime. So, to my friends on the opposition bench who have critiqued this government for being very lackadaisical, for want of a better word, for not bringing legislation when we ought to, I dare you to support this piece of legislation today. I dare you to support the amendments that we seek to bring by this bill today, because this is certainly our government's attempt. This is certainly our government's attempt to continue our fight against white-collar crime. This is not our government's attempt to withhold fundamental human rights of citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. This amendment, it is not our intention to usurp constitutional rights of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This is simply amendments that we as a government believe, from the length and breadth of this bill, will give the powers that be the teeth which is necessary in order to once and for all be able to curb white-collar crime in this country, a matter which we all complain about. Madam President, with these few words, I thank you for the opportunity to contribute.
For the opportunity to join this debate.